Hi, everyone. My name is Laurel Meyer, and I'm an IVF case manager in California. Tonight, I'm going to share my story of my infertility process in hopes that it helps you have the courage and strength to go through your journey. About 25 years ago, my husband and I started having trouble getting pregnant. We went to an infertility specialist and had a workup. I wasn't ovulating regularly. I knew this because I wasn't having regular periods. And my husband's semen analysis was fine. So we started on a treatment called Clomid. We started with 50 milligrams and had to keep going up every month because I wasn't ovulating. So we went from 50 milligrams to 100 to 150, still no ovulation. And by the time I got to the 150 dose, I started having nystagmus, which is the blurry, shaky vision. It's a very uncommon side effect of Clomid, but it means you have to stop. So no ovulation anyway, wasn't doing me any good. So next step, hysterosalpingogram. This is the dye test that checks to see if the fallopian tubes are blocked. Sure. It's not a fun test. I'm sure many of you have had this test. It causes a lot of cramping. They put a tube, a catheter in through the cervix, and they instill dye, and they can watch the dye by X-ray travel down the fallopian tubes to see if it spills out the end or is blocked. In my case, they found that one tube was blocked and it had ballooned up like a sausage. This is called a hydrosalpinx. Now, in a hydrosalpinx, obviously the tube is completely blocked and doesn't work. My other tube was open. And thinking back to my teens, it made sense. I had been sexually active. I had contracted a case of chlamydia, which led to pelvic inflammatory disease, PID, and the leading cause of a hydrosalpinx is from PID. With pelvic inflammatory disease, the cilia that line the fallopian tube get damaged. So even if your tube is open, the egg still can't travel down the tube effectively to meet up with the sperm. So even if I had been ovulating regularly, which I wasn't, I still wouldn't have been able to get pregnant. So the next step was to remove my tubes. This requires a surgery called a laparoscopy. The surgery found quite a bit of adhesions. And so they removed both fallopian tubes and the adhesions. Next stop, IVF. I needed IVF at this point with no tubes. So we did 2 cycles of IVF. Both times I got a low number of eggs. I got not very good quality embryos, and unfortunately, I did not have a pregnancy. The third cycle of IVF, we decided to use donor eggs. And the only way we could afford to do this process is to split the eggs with another couple. So the eggs that were retrieved from the donor, we split with another couple. We got one not very good quality embryo. And as a last-ditch effort, we decided we would go ahead and transfer it, knowing that it probably wasn't going to work. And lo and behold, it didn't work. Negative pregnancy. Now, to add salt to the wound, the other couple got pregnant. This was hard news to hear, but we asked the clinic for this news. They gave it to us in an effort to be transparent, and I appreciated their transparency. I think it's important to be transparent as a clinic as long as you can protect confidentiality. So with this, at this stage, we were pretty devastated. However, the same exact day that I had received this negative news, there was a woman who was in labor at a local hospital. She was single. She wasn't ready to be a mother, and she wanted to find parents for her baby. The next day, the following day, a good friend called me, and it happens that this friend was the patient's labor and delivery nurse. She knew that our last IVF cycle was a long shot. So the first thing she asked us when we got on the phone was, did the IVF cycle work? We told her no. So she told us about her patient. She said that her patient had just delivered her baby. She was single. She wanted to find parents for her baby. She had not made any plans to do this. And our friend had told her about us. And now she wants to meet us. We were beyond thrilled. Oh my God. We rushed down to the hospital and we met her and her baby and we talked. We had a lot in common. We both liked big dogs. We both liked hiking in the mountains. We both liked reading a lot. And I had my biology degree and she was working on her biology degree, still in college. She chose us to be her baby's parents. We were amazed and thrilled. So the next step, we had nothing prepared at home, nothing. We rushed out to Target to do the shopping. We tried to think of everything we could possibly need. Diapers, wipes, bottles, formula, blankets, onesies, a bassinet, and don't forget the car seat. We figured we'd forgotten something, but as long as we had the car seat, we were good for now. We barely slept that night and just fear that it would all fall apart. The next morning, we went down to the hospital and we brought our baby girl home on Valentine's Day. So this is her when she got a little bit older. This is our little baby Megan. Well, the story doesn't end there. Fast forward 2 years. We wanted to expand our family. So to do that, we called the IVF center thinking that we may want to be the recipients of an embryo that had been donated to the clinic and do a frozen embryo transfer cycle with that embryo. The clinics told us that unfortunately they had a 2-year waiting list for this process. So with nothing to lose, we decided to put our names on the list and move on. Now, adoption we were totally comfortable with. We had done it before. It had gone very smoothly. How hard could it be? We'll just adopt again. We could not be more wrong. It was not as we had planned. So to get started, we created an adoption letter that would tell potential birth moms about us, about our family. It was detailed with pictures of our family with our baby. And it told prospective birth mothers how we would be the most perfect family for her baby if she wanted to find parents. We sent this out to OB offices, friends, family, attorneys, anywhere we could think of that people could just tell our story in hopes of finding a lead for a birth mom. We also hired an attorney. We wanted him to help us find a baby if possible. And then when we did, he could do the adoption process, the legal adoption process for us. Now we waited. It was about 8 months later, we finally got a lead on a pregnant woman who wanted to find parents for her baby. She was incarcerated. So we went down to the prison to visit her. We talked and she seemed genuine about wanting to find parents for her baby. And she chose us to be her baby's parents. She was pregnant with a baby boy. It was pretty early in our pregnancy, so it was a very long wait. But we had such faith and hope, and we were so excited about having a little baby boy. So we stayed in touch. We visited fairly regularly. We sent care packages with essentials and goodies. And finally, the day arrived that she delivered. We got the call from the hospital social worker, and she had delivered a healthy baby boy. We were so excited, but there was a glitch. The birth mom had changed her mind. She decided to keep the baby and let her mom raise it until she got out of prison. We were devastated, beyond devastated. We had been waiting and longing to bring our little baby boy home. We had the rug just pulled out from under us. We felt so deceived. We definitely went through the 5 stages of grieving. First stage was just, we couldn't believe that it happened. Denial. This couldn't be happening. Why won't they let us talk to her? Why won't the social worker just let us talk to her? We'll just work this all out. There must be a mistake. Then we went through anger. What the F? Like, how could she do this to us? That was like the lowest of the low. She must have planned this all along. She just used us for the perks. We felt so devastated by this just, it was as if she just planned it from the beginning and was using us. And we were so mad at the attorney and her. The next step was bargaining. Well, maybe there's just, maybe she just needs a little more time. Maybe if we could just talk to her, we'll all work this out. She just needs more time to make a decision, and then she'll give us the baby. Well, the next step is acceptance. And I can tell you that took a very, very long time. I did finally get to the point where I forgave her, but I would never, ever, ever let myself go through that again. It was way too painful. So with that stage over, we waited. And a couple months later, about 1.5 years into the process of trying to expand our family, we got a call from the IVF center. They called us a little early, and they had embryos to offer us. We were so excited. The embryos had been created from a couple who had hired a birth mom. Who had hired an egg donor. The egg donor, they used the egg donor's eggs and the husband's sperm, and they had a successful pregnancy and birth, and they were done creating their family, and they donated their embryos to the clinic. And now they were offering us these embryos. The egg donor was a dancer. The husband was a computer programmer. So these embryos were both athletic and smart. We were thrilled. So we went through a frozen embryo transfer process. The medications were fairly easy. I was still pretty nervous that it wasn't going to work, and I was still quite fragile from the adoption fallout, but I was hopeful. I was very hopeful. So they transferred 2 embryos to my uterus, and then the wait. And oh, what a wait. That time between the transfer and getting your pregnancy test results feels like an eternity. I tried to distract myself with TV shows, movies, reading, hiking, whatever I could do, but it was still hard. We finally got the pregnancy test results, and they were positive. And then a couple weeks later, we had the ultrasound, and there was 1 healthy fetus. I absolutely loved being pregnant. I was nauseated, and I didn't mind at all. I loved feeling her kick inside. And it was just the most wonderful time of my life. At that point, I was the happiest I've ever been. I had a beautiful little girl who was 3. I had a loving husband, and I was pregnant with our second daughter. I delivered her on 4th of July. So now we had 2 holiday babies, Valentine's Day and 4th of July. And here they are when we got her home from the hospital. That's Megan and her little sister, Sydney. So it's been quite a journey. They're growing up. And the reason I tell my story is I just want to help make it a little bit easier for you. I know many of you are going through a really hard time right now. You wish you were already pregnant. The waiting and not knowing is very difficult. But I want to remind you to keep the faith. You can do this. Here they are, growing up. And now my two daughters are 16 and 20 years old. Neither of them are genetically related to us, and we're glad they have this in common. It's something that I think can bond them in a certain way. But they know that they are loved 100%, and we're behind them 100%. We've been open with both of them on their birth stories, and they've both had their struggles, as we all do. But they know that we are there for them 100%. So I hope in hearing my story today that it gives you just a little bit more strength and courage to continue on in yours. I know that for me, just taking it one step at a time, keeping the faith and staying positive was helpful. And I know that if I can do it, so can you. So good luck, and thank you for your time.